What's going on, everybody? Car Guy V8 here, and in this video I'm going to show you how to swap out an engine from start to finish. We are going to be pulling out this tired 357 small block Chevy and replacing it with a fresher 383 stroker. So let's get started. The first thing we want to do is drain the radiator into a bucket. Usually I do this outside because it makes a mess. Then we're going to remove our radiator hoses and disconnect our electric fans. Now I'm going to remove the reservoir hose. Now I'm taking off the transmission cooler lines, which keep a bucket handy because a lot of transmission fluid will fall out of them and make a mess all over the floor. Now the radiator should be ready to pull out. Next, we are going to remove the air cleaner assembly and also remove the fuel line going from the fuel pump up to the carburetor. Now keep in mind, most of these steps can be done at any point in this engine removal, but this is the way I usually do it, so that's how we're doing it for the video. Now I'm going to remove the vacuum lines from the carburetor and the throttle linkage and return spring. So now the carburetor is ready to pull off, and we're putting a carburetor plate in its place, and that will make it easy to remove the engine. Now I'm going to remove the ground wire that is located on the alternator bracket, and after removing it, I'm going to remove the ground that is located on the firewall. And once it is off, I'm going to start messing with the alternator, start taking the bolts out, and then I'm going to disconnect the power wire from the alternator, and it should swing free after getting that bottom bolt out, and you can take the belt off, and then the alternator is free. And now I'm going to remove all 8 spark plug wires, and after removing all of the wires, I'm going to remove the sending unit for the water temperature gauge. Let's go ahead and remove the distributor cap. This step is optional depending on how large your engine bay is because it might hit on the top of the cowl. Now we're going to remove the crank pulley just to make sure we've got enough clearance whenever removing this engine. And then we'll go ahead and remove the heater hoses. Depending on which way the motor mount bolt is going into the motor mount, you may not have to remove the mechanical fuel pump. In my case, it has to come off. We're going to go ahead and remove the exhaust. We're going to unbolt all 3 bolts in the collector flange, and then the exhaust should just fall down. And then we're going to remove the headers. But if I had a single brain cell left, I would have removed the spark plugs first. But for some reason, I did things backwards here. So I will be removing the spark plugs after taking off the headers because I forgot there's no room in this engine bay once you have those headers off. So you'd wind up breaking a spark plug if you don't remove them as well. Now we're going to remove all 3 torque converter bolts. And since all of the spark plugs are out of the engine, it's easy to turn the engine over to get to the next torque converter bolt. Most of the time, torque converter bolts have Loctite on them, so you usually can't spin them by hand, so you've got to use a wrench the whole time. Don't forget to go ahead and support the transmission. Since we've only got 2 steps left before the engine's ready to pull out, we want to make sure that that transmission is supported. Now we're going to start removing all of the transmission bolts. There are 6 of them total. It's hard to get a camera in to view all of them, so I just wind up showing a few of them here. Luckily, this G-body has a long engine bay, so it's easy to get the top 2 transmission bolts. It may be necessary to remove the distributor in order to get the passenger side top transmission bolt. Luckily, I did not have to do that. Now we're on the final steps, so we're going to go ahead and loosen the motor mount bolts and remove the nuts from the back of them. And now we're going to drag the hoist over and slowly hoist the engine up until it is high enough that we can remove both motor mount bolts. And now we're just going to slowly start lifting the engine, and it should be free of everything. Double check and make sure there's not any wires left hanging around or anything left attached to the engine it'll try to drag with it. So we're just going to start slowly lifting it up, watching the headers, making sure they're not grabbing on the starter or anything like that. We're going to make sure the starter's not stuck in the transmission, and we're just going to keep on walking around and checking everything while slowly lifting it out. And in just a few moments, the engine is free. Here is the 357 small block that is now out of the vehicle. So we'll want to take our motor mounts and transfer them to the other engine, these clamshells here. 3 bolts, there's 1 on each side. You'll probably want to take your water pump sending unit, provided your new engine does not have one. Also, the same goes for the oil pressure sending unit. You'll want to take your ground. Your starter, that's up to you. You can probably put your new engine in with the starter on, depending on how tight the engine bay is. Same goes for anything else on the engine, anything you want to put on the new one. A lot of times it's easier to do when you're standing right by it as opposed to leaning over an engine bay. Honestly, I'm not real thrilled with how that engine removal went, mainly due to those headers. Most of the vehicles that I've swapped engines in the past have wider engine bays or even longer. So I'm used to just setting the headers to the side or even pulling them out. But these are quite tight. That's why that removal went a little rougher than I would usually like. Here is the 383 stroker. I'm going to go ahead and remove all the spark plugs. Then I'm going to put on all the parts I just mentioned a minute ago. Then I think we'll be ready to install this engine. Now we're going to install our new engine, and just like when removing the old one, we're going to be walking around it, making sure nothing's hanging up, making sure everything looks okay. And I actually used bungee cords on the headers to hold them out of the way, which worked well. We're just going to drop it over the motor mounts and then slowly maneuver it back and try to line it up with the transmission bell housing. And we're going to have to play with the floor jack that's under the transmission, and we're also going to have to play with the hoist to try to get them to connect perfectly. As soon as the transmission and engine are mated, we're going to go ahead and put in our transmission bolts. Do not use the transmission bolts to pull them together. Make sure that they are already firmly together before you start tightening them. You don't want anything to bond. As soon as you have 3 bolts or more holding the transmission to the engine, you want to go ahead and try to put in the motor mount bolts. This is basically just a balancing act with the hoist, and sometimes it takes a pry bar, but it's usually pretty straightforward. The 383 is installed. The 357 is now sitting over here on the ground. So I have approximately 6.5 hours in this swap so far. So as you see, it's not hard. It just has quite a few steps. Once I had the idea of putting the bungees on the headers, that made all the difference. Held them out of the way. They were no longer an issue. The engine went straight in, no trouble. Dropped right down on the motor mounts. Of course, you have to mess with the floor jack and the hoist in order to get the transmission bell housing in the back of the block to line up perfectly. But that's to be expected. That's usually the hardest step. Usually this is harder, but it was easy today. Everything went straight forward. So now we've just got to put everything back together. So let's start with the headers. We are going to go ahead and install the exhaust system. Luckily, I was able to reuse the gaskets for the headers and for the collectors. These are the Rimflex thick gaskets. They help eliminate exhaust leaks. And we're just going to tighten all the header bolts. And after running the engine, we will probably want to re-tighten them again. Now I'm going to go back down to the collector and do the same thing. Tighten all 3 bolts. Alright guys, I'm going to show y'all how to measure the air gap between the flex plate and the torque converter. You don't want to just bolt this up just like that. You want to actually measure that gap because there is a spec for that. You want it to be between 1/8 of an inch and 3/16 of an inch air gap. So we've got a 1/8 drill bit. So you can see it slides right up in there, no trouble. Now we've got a 3/16 drill bit. And as you see, it still slides up in there. You've got a little bit of gap there. So this one's actually slightly out of spec. So what we're going to do is we're going to run a, let's see if I can actually show it here. My hands are sticky. But we've got a 1/20th of an inch machined washer here. Machined. So this isn't just a run-of-the-mill part store washer. This is actually a high-quality washer. We're going to run this between both pads, and that will keep the torque converter pull out in spec. So it'll just, well, I dropped it, but then it'll just set right against that washer. Now I'm going to install the 3 torque converter bolts and nuts. Now some torque converters are made where a bolt just threads directly into the converter pad. This one is not made that way. It uses both a bolt and a nut. So I'm going to use a little bit of blue Loctite on the back of the threads of the bolt to make sure the nut stays securely fastened throughout the life of this engine. I'm just snugging the bolt up. Then I'm going to use the starter to turn the engine over and snug the other 2 bolts up as well. You never want to just tighten one bolt with the other 2 being out. You always want them to all 3 be installed before you start torquing it down. It's time to go ahead and install all 8 spark plugs again. We're also going to go ahead and put the water temp sender back in. Now I'm going to throw the cap back on and plug in all 8 spark plug wires in the firing order 1, 8, 4, 3, 6, 5, 7, 2. I usually like to put a little bit of dielectric grease in the spark plug boot ahead of time just to make sure it makes a good connection. Next, we are going to put in our oil pressure line and tighten it up. Then we're going to connect our battery and tachometer connections onto the distributor cap, and we're also going to plug in the distributor too. Here I am installing my new dipstick tube. As you can tell, this car was not made for a passenger side dipstick tube. I did have to bend it a little to get it to fit. Next, I'm going to install my water pump pulley. I'm going to use my impact to lightly tighten all 4 pulley bolts. And I'm also going to put on my alternator bracket right there, my lower alternator bracket. And now I realized after trying to put the alternator back on that I'm going to have to take off my ground again. It won't quite rotate up into spot. Now that the alternator can be rotated into position, I'm going to go ahead and pull the wiring harness up towards the alternator and reconnect all of its connections. Now that I have the alternator on, I can go ahead and reconnect the ground strap to the alternator bracket. And I can also throw my belt on the pulley system and use a pry bar to tighten the belt up. And then I can snug up the alternator bolts to make sure the belt is nice and tight and stays that way. We're nearing the end of this engine swap, so I'm going to go ahead and remove the carburetor plate and replace it with an Edelbrock 600 carburetor. And I'm going to tighten all 4 bolts down. First, I'm going to snug them with the impact, and then I hand tighten them with a wrench while installing my throttle cable bracket, my PCV hose, my vacuum advance hose from the distributor, and the transmission vacuum hose, also the brake booster hose. Now that all the hard stuff is out of the way, Clay showed up and helped me feed the transmission cooler lines through the side of the radiator support. Now I'm going to untangle this mess of wires and hoses and reconnect my transmission cooler lines and also tighten them up to where they won't leak. I'm going to also reconnect the electrical connections for my electric fans and go ahead and hook up the fuel system to the mechanical fuel pump down there. And it's also time to go ahead and install the lower radiator hose. Guys, we are finally there. After tightening up the upper radiator hose, all we have left to do is fill the radiator with coolant and fill the float bowls full of fuel, and we'll be good to try to fire this thing up. Oh, and the air cleaner. So this concludes our engine swap video. The 383 stroker is now sitting down in the El Camino and everything is hooked up. You can go back through now and just double check the little things, make sure you didn't miss anything. There's only one thing left to do now. And let's go ahead and fire it up. I'm going to remove the air cleaner just in case it backfires out the carb.